All right, excellent. So I am Dr. C. Salik, and I'll get to that in a minute. I'm going to talk a little bit about our evolving perspective on AI. It is moving forward in conjunction with what the AI acceleration team here at ASU is delivering to us, and along with the development of LLMs and the various models that continue to iterate. So as Yulia said, let's go here. I'm a clinical associate professor at Mary Lou Fulton, and I'm the program coordinator for both the Learning Design and Technologies program, which is a master's degree program. We also have an undergraduate concentration. Another one of our faculty leads that initiative. And I'm also the program coordinator for the MasterCard e-learning scholars program. We're working with 8 partner institutions across Africa, one in Beirut and one in Costa Rica. And the goal is to increase the capacity of those institutions to do blended and online learning. The way we're doing that is by delivering our learning design and technology certificate to faculty members in those institutions. And then it's kind of the evangelical model, I guess you would say, where they learn all about learning design and technologies, and they disseminate that knowledge to their peers. So that's an interesting perspective on learning design, because they face routine things that we don't even think about, like a lack of power, a lack of connectivity, war, and a variety of other things. One of my students, as an example of how dangerous that environment can be, one of my students sent me a note the other day asking for extension on his assignment because he was attacked by armed bandits in his home. So it is quite a challenging environment in which to teach. So why are we having this conversation, and why now? So let me back up for a second. And I say I've been here at ASU, and this is going to date me now, and I hate that. But I have been here at ASU since cows were grazing on the lawn of Old Main. So I've had a lot of experience with technology here at ASU. I am the person who literally wrote the first 3 online courses here at ASU. So I've had quite a bit of experience, and I've been through any number of emergent technology implementations here at the university, including learning management systems, the internet, and a variety of others. So this emerged, really, we're going to date this back to January of 2023, right after OpenAI's announcement. OpenAI's announcement hit us at a time when our enrollments were continuing to grow. The fundamental shape of our discipline is changing, not only because of these technologies, but for a variety of other reasons. We're focused more on learner variability. Learner variability, to be clear, is not learning styles. Learning styles is an urban myth of education that's been thoroughly debunked at this point. Learner variability is something different. It's more about the attributes of the student, and metacognition, executive function, support skills, and those kinds of things that they're bringing to the mix. So we were already thinking about these things when OpenAI came along. So when I went in January of 2023 to what I affectionately refer to as the fist-shaking meeting, and you may know the fist-shaking meeting. It's the, we've got to ban this. This is going to kill higher ed, that meeting. And I was asked what my intentions for AI were. My intentions were to begin an immediate programmatic implementation into the learning design program, and that's exactly what we did. Our instructional reality here is we have a 10-course master's degree program. The 5-course certificate program is nested within that. It's the same courses, and the certificate and master's students are in the same program, or in the same courses, excuse me. So we have a single course. We have many learners in that course. Typically, our number for each individual course is somewhere around 120 to 150 students. The way it works here, I don't know how it works at Fulton, but the way it works here is every time I get a multiple of 30, I get a co-instructor. So 30, that's me. 60, that's me and one other person. 90, that's me and 2 other people. That said, we still have bandwidth issues, capacity issues. We're typically missing a faculty member for a variety of reasons. The most recent reason was Turkey repossessed one of our faculty members. And then the other thing is, because we have limited bandwidth, because we have to be in a lot of places at once, because we, the faculty, are managing so many simultaneous initiatives for the program and the college, we need to be everywhere. And one of the consequences of that is we're not always available to answer student questions. Slack as a technology is thoroughly embedded into the program, and most of us who are faculty are on Slack about 12 hours a day, most of us 6 days a week. But even then, it's hard to, respond to every single question that came along. So when OpenAI announced and when we started developing this plan, this action plan, I guess, or this implementation in January of 2023, the first thing we did is something we are all familiar with. We did the how is this going to work in Canvas shuffle. So it's like, okay, how is this going to work in Canvas? What level of instruction do I need to provide for the students? What is it going to look like? How should it work? Once we experimented with that through the spring and summer of 2023, we quickly realized we needed a unifying force to tie it all together, because this initiative was not me doing one thing and Dr. Archambault doing another thing and Dr. Morgan doing another thing. We decided very early on, right out of the gate, this was going to be a programmatic implementation. It was going to look and function the same in every single class across the program, so that our learners had a consistent and uniform learning experience from one end to the other. So once we decided that we needed some kind of unifying strategy, that strategy was AI mentor, creating a mentor. And we did that because when we asked this question, what instructional task do you want to scale better without lowering quality? It was communication with the students. And there was an ancillary list, I'll be honest, of other reasons here that we did this. One was helping students develop professional communication strategies. Another was helping them to do problem solving and things like that. So we had a list of imperatives when we designed the mentors. And we decided what we were going to try to do was increase our presence without increasing our numbers. So what is an AI mentor? So here I said it's an intentionally designed role-based instructional support. Now, when we began this initiative and we decided on the mentors, initially it was just the mentors, but our perspective on this has grown since then, and I'll show you throughout this presentation how that's grown. But now we are classifying it as instructional infrastructure. It is part of the program. It is deeply embedded in the Learning Design and Technologies program, and the use and way in which we're using these tools is also evolving as the models and as what ASU offers us in terms of tools is growing. So AI mentors are intentionally designed. They fill a specific purpose. They don't do everything. They have targeted uses, and they're designed primarily to guide students. So we have an interesting mix of students. We have students who are early career professionals, and most of the time, if they're an early career professional, they're a teacher with approximately 5 years of classroom experience who is trying to change direction, and I hate to use the word escape, but they're trying to escape the classroom while they remain in teaching and learning. And then from there, we have a bunch of industry professionals who are like mid to mid-late career. So our students range from about, 22, 23 to 50s. So it's an interesting mix of students. The other thing about our students is that they come at their approach to the program. They come with different reasons and imperatives for doing it. So, again, it's part of the learner variability. What mentors are not. So we have heard a lot of talk about chatbots. I'm sure there's a few of us here who remember Eliza. Eliza was a chatbot. If you don't remember Eliza, she was a chatbot from the, I'm going to say 80s, who late 80s, early 90s, who was kind of like a psychologist. And, a lot of her responses were pre-programmed and fairly reliable. She followed an algorithm. But that's not what our mentors are, because they're not designed to be generalists. They have specific functions. They have a specific role. One of the things they have no domain over is grading. They have nothing to do with grading, although I guess this is going to depend on how you interpret it. There are a couple of touch points through the program where we say, okay, now that you've written this, evidence for your assignment, go ahead and ask your AI mentor what they think of it. So it's not grading it, but it's providing feedback. Another thing they do not do is they don't replace faculty. There are some guardrails within the system directive for these mentors that will redirect the student back to the faculty member, or in some cases, they will redirect them to, depending on what the student is saying, or I call it eoring. If they're like, oh, I'm so sad, the mentor is going to direct them to mental health services, whether they're ASU 360, I'm sorry. So they're going to direct them towards that. And the way we make the distinction, as I was saying, is a chatbot really has no explicitly defined purpose. The range of what it's going to respond to is fairly generic. It gives, it's primarily driven by the need to have something shiny there. The difference is for our AI mentors is they have a scope role, and that role is as follows. And there are 6 of these mentors, and there's 3 male and 3 female. I designed very comprehensive biographies and backstories for each mentor. More about that later. And the mentors are focused on the field of learning design. That's their context. So all 6 mentors essentially have the same context setting. And that context setting is you're a 20+ year practitioner in the field of learning design who directs a team of skilled learning design professionals in an organization. That's the basic framework for all 6. And then within that context, they know about Bloom's taxonomy, Merrill's first principles, all these learning theories that are common to learning design. They know some things about hardware and software, depending on what it is. And that knowledge of hardware and software I tend to limit it to what we're using in the program. So for example, they have assignments in a couple of places in the program where they use open source audio editing software, Audacity, and the mentors know a little bit about Audacity. The other thing is everything they know is aligned with the content in our program. So basically, they're design driven. And the way that, can you see the mentor screen? Yes? Did it chip? Okay. So the way that these mentors are assigned is when a student enters one of the foundation classes, and they don't necessarily take these classes in order, which that's one of my angry points. When they come into one of the foundations courses, they see this Meet Your Mentor page. This page is actually in every course in the program, but its location is a little different after the foundations courses, and that's because we occasionally do have students from outside of the program take our classes, and we want them to have the same experience. So right now, you're seeing Dr. Anelia Rao, who is my personal AI mentor. And the way this was just like when I was thinking about, how is this going to work? I was like, oh, I know, we're going to research this at some point. So we have to say, oh, mentors are assigned on a quasi-random basis. And that random basis is that mentors are assigned by the first letter of the student's last name. So this tool here is just a preview tool I built for our faculty. So you saw who my mentor was. If Jonathan came into the program and was looking for a mentor, his mentor would be Sophia. And you can see we've given it a little polish here she does a little smile and a hair flip. And then she goes on to describe who she is and what her backstory is. And then when you click on the Contact Sophia button, it will take you to the Create AI Builder dialog window where you can have an ongoing dialogue with her. One of the things we are fairly transparent with, just as a background for what we're doing with AI, is we set rules, limitations, and guidelines at 3 different levels. The first level is the college, well, I guess it's actually, yeah, it's the college level, or the university level would be more appropriate. And we use the approved language from the provost in our syllabus, and we use the middle ground, which is you can use AI with instructor guidance. So that's in the syllabus. Then at the course level, we also have common. Then at the course level, we have AI usage guidelines. In this case, it says AI usage guidelines for graduate students. We follow a red, green, yellow framework, what you can and can't do. encouraged usage. Yeah, try it with caution. Don't do this. So things like generating responses to discussions are in here. And then over here, things they can do, of course, is interact with your mentor. Ideation, they're allowed to do that. Some feedback and revision on their writing. So this has been particularly helpful with our African students who they all do speak English, but at varying levels of proficiency. And some of them are a little, I hesitate to use the word embarrassed, but some of them are a little, have a little anxiety about that. So we do let them use these tools to do a grammar check, and then we have some other guidelines in here about the disclosure, putting a disclosure at the bottom of your assignment. And then the final level, which I'm not going to show today, are AI specific, or I'm sorry, assignment specific AI guidelines. And in the assignment directions, there's a call out box, again, with red, green, and yellow buttons. It says you cannot use AI voices to create this module. You cannot use this. So there's like usually 4 or 5 pips. And I have actually vibe coded a tool so that my colleagues who do know nothing about code can just tick off some check boxes and it creates the code on the fly, and they can paste it in Canvas. So that's how we're managing it. So moving on, they're also designed for learner variability, which was something that's very important for us. This is where we began parting ways. So in this, as late as the spring of last year, we were doing this a little differently. That they were not in Create AI Builder yet in the spring. The reason for that was because the Create AI Builder tool wasn't really able to provision to a broad audience until March of spring. In other words, I had to manually put everyone's ASU right in if I wanted them to have access to a mentor that way. And we decided at that time, being on the Create AI group, we knew it was coming, that they were going to fix that. We decided it wasn't worth the man hours, frankly, to individually list everybody. So we ported them in the fall of last year. So they're designed for variability in that they can address varying depths in terms of what the student's prior knowledge about a skill or theory or something might be. And it also can help with them pacing. So some of these things since then have been taken over by another external agent I've created that we just released to the entire college this morning, called CondoBot. So CondoBot, I'm not going to show that today, but CondoBot specializes on executive function, and it allows students to, for example, say, hey, I'm feeling lost, and it'll reply with some project management strategies, some time management strategies. If they tell it, again, they're feeling sad, it's going to recommend them to mental health. If they say, I need help getting organized so I can complete this assignment on time, they can paste the assignment into CondoBot, and CondoBot will respond with a list of dates, checkboxes, times, do this for 2 hours on such and such a day to help them get organized. It also improves their confidence. That was another thing we want to address in terms of learner variability. Because as I explained, we have, a wide variety and ages who have a wide variety of competence and confidence with communication. So in many respects, we want our students to anthropomorphize these mentors. We do in our, text explanations throughout the module explain, hey, this is no different than slacking with me. It's the same kind of interaction. And then it's supposed to help their metacognitive skills also, because the mentors will never really explicitly answer a question. If the student says, hey, I want, to know this, the mentor will respond with Socratic leading questions. And then executive function, again, that's built into all of the mentors. But, one of the revisions that's coming for Spring B, well, if a student is complaining to their mentor about struggling with executive function, it'll refer them to the other CondoBot so that they can more thoroughly deal with those issues. So what do the mentors support? So they can deal with what's going on in terms of the reading and the media in the course. Right now, they have this is our hard thing to manage because there are some foundational things that are not hard to manage. So For example, let's just say one of our learning theories is Merrill's first principles of instruction. Those principles have been established, they've been around forever. So that as a foundational information that the mentors can consider, that's not hard. What can be difficult to manage is when, AI is a perfect example. It's different, it's changing every day. Keeping up those knowledge bases is a juggling act between what the mentor is given in their knowledge base and what they know as an LLM. We're trying to, take our students away from this, and I don't know if this is something you experience, but this almost laser-like focus on just completing an assignment. We want them to learn something. So the mentors support that when they're talking to them about assignments by creating a series of goals for them to achieve so they can more thoroughly learn whatever topic it is. It will also evaluate things and help them move forward in an appropriate way instead of just blazing forward from point A to point B. And I should add, because you're probably asking by now, how does the student know when to ask the mentor something? So I will show that in a minute. So there are, in fact, let's show that now. As students are going through the program or through the courses, they will come upon these minty green Ask Your Mentor boxes, which provide guidelines up here. This part is the guideline of what they're going to do with the mentor. And in some cases, this is a good example, they have an explicit prompt that they can give to their mentor, which ensures consistent results across tasks. And then it improves a variety of other things. Our experience has been now, as we've a couple of semesters in, that they are thinking more deeply about things. The assignments are more complete and well-rounded. Well, you might ask, are they just having AI write those assignments? Well, the mentors will not write it for them. And one of the things we're currently engaged in are making our assignments AI resistant, is the popular parlance now. An AI resistant assignment involves including reflection, tangible assets that the student have to submit. There's a list of criteria for the moment about what an AI resistant assignment is. The other thing I do as the program coordinator is I will ask AI to complete the assignment as though I were a student, saying, hey, write this assignment for me, ChatGPT. And then we have a library of those that our co-instructors can look at as a reference point. So if it seems really too close to those examples, we begin to question whether it was written by AI or written by the student. But overall, we're finding that the 100% AI thing is not as much of a problem as we thought it was going to be at the moment. So learner variability creates friction in our classes in a variety of ways. Learner variability can be very broad, and it can also include neurodivergent disability, those kinds of things. So these mentors have also been calibrated to say, to restate questions in different ways to help students who are having trouble with neurodiversity, different types of functions. The mentors have some information in their systems directive to re-explain things, to dial it back, explain it to me like a fifth grader, that popular meme for AI. And that does seem to alleviate some of the problems. And again, the mentors are available 24/7. So I'm sure everybody's gotten those 1158 notes from your students. Hey, I have a question, right? So the mentors are there during those times. All right, so as we move forward with this, we've actually kind of found out just by review and happenstance that we are following some specific design patterns. So the mentors are really designed to fill exactly that, a mentorship role. And the way it's pitched in the explanation in the course is that, hey, you're an emerging learning designer, you've got an internship at this learning design firm or this organization, and Sophia is the director of learning design and she's mentoring you. So it's kind of pitched in that way. So the mentors, the AI mentors, actually follow that. One of the things we begin with, though, is the simplest of things, and I don't know how many of you are familiar with it, but there's something that the AI acceleration team developed called Syllabot, and you can create one of these quite easily. at Create AI Builder, it is essentially a two-step process. You use their template, you give it a new name, and boom, it creates a new one for you. And then you upload your syllabus, and if it happens to be a scheduled if it happens to be a separate document, as it is in our case, given that the schedule too, and then it can be embedded in your course, and it can answer whatever questions students have about the syllabus. So that is the first level of things. That's something we developed. It helps the students be aware of deadlines. They can ask it things like, hey, what's the late policy? Hey, what am I going to do? And what happens if I get, in trouble because I'm 3 days overdue? It encourages students to ask it those kinds of questions. Syllabot has, I want to say, 9, maybe 12 conversation starters. Conversation starters are pre-formatted questions. They can just click on a button and say, what's the late policy in this class? And it'll look at your syllabus and respond to it. Syllabot is very targeted in that it does not know anything at all beyond your syllabus. So your syllabus is the only source of knowledge for the Syllabot. After that, we began the actual mentors. So the mentors are something we classify as learning process mentors. It's really designed to help students with making analytical decisions, helping them break complex tasks into different learning tasks, which is where we address learner variability. So instead of, trying to take on making an MP3 as a single thing, it can break it into chunks for them and help them by, giving them a step-by-step directions. It also addresses the fundamental theories back in the day. This program was anchored by a research-focused PhD, and my task upon becoming the program coordinator was to invert that and go from theory and practice to practice and theory. So we're a practitioner-focused program that's grounded in theory, and the mentors have broad knowledge of all the contemporary learning theories, connectivism, constructivism, behaviorism, all of the big ones. And then it knows a lot of things about the theories that are relative to the field of learning design, like Keller's ARCS model, Merrill's principles of instruction, those kinds of things. And again, it supports sentence making. It never really explicitly answers a question definitively. It leads the student into finding their own answers. So those are the actual mentors. Well, as we were going along and we were doing this, we hit a little snafu. We had a little snag. And that snag was that a lot of students prior to the conversion of Create AI Builder were using their own versions of ChatGPT. Some students were using the free versions. And they came across an assignment where they had to upload transcripts, interview transcripts, and learn the basic principles of doing a thematic analysis. And the problem we ran into is that the free version of ChatGPT didn't allow that because it has a very small context window. So we ran to our computer late one Thursday night, and we developed our first real AI agent developed on the Create AI Builder platform, Dr. Norm L. Distribution. And Dr. Distribution, his role is to help students negotiate the process of conducting a thematic analysis. So generally what happens is students go to Dr. Distribution, they upload several transcripts from interviews they've conducted, text transcripts, and then Dr. Distribution steps them through the 6 steps of thematic analysis. The goal of this particular class is not for them to learn thematic analysis, but to understand what it is. So this was an example of a process modeler. So we have a few agents that are in development that model very specific processes in specific places throughout the program. So generally in the field of learning design, everybody's kind of a generalist, and we like to conceptualize that as being a T-shaped learning designer, breadth and depth. But even though we have a lot of breadth and depth, even in, people who are in leadership positions, there's always going to be a go-to person for a particular task or a particular skill. So these process modelers are designed to be that go-to person. So we have one that's evolving because they have to learn some video editing at one point. So that new agent will help them learn how to edit videos effectively. And then finally, did I skip one? Nope. And then finally, we also have now subject matter experts, and these are actually in operation. These have been developed, and essentially, let me give some context for this. We have a course that teaches students how to build e-learning modules using Articulate Storyline. Say what you will about Articulate Storyline, love it, hate it, doesn't matter. It is the industry standard, so it is a core part of our program. And the way students learn to develop this module is they're cast into the role of a learning designer in some kind of organization, and they're tasked with building a 15-minute introductory model to some subject. And in this case, the subject is Kessler syndrome, which is a problem in orbital mechanics. So this is what students see in the course. This is just my preview window here, but students see this embedded in Canvas. This is about 12 minutes long. It simulates a project kickoff meeting. Prior to this young lady here, you would see the project sponsor who outlines all of the project parameters. And then you have Dr. Amina Patel here, who's a NASA rocket scientist. And the students ask her questions about Kessler syndrome. And what happens is at the end of this design case, they receive this faux email with resources. And one of the features of this email is that you can IM your content or your subject matter expert, and it will take you to, let's see. Oh, you're not going to work today? It takes you to the dialog window for for Dr. Patel, and you can ask her subject matter questions, areas where subject matter expertise is necessary so that students can be guided through the process of developing these e-learning modules with the appropriate content to the appropriate depth. These are modeled a little differently, and that difference is in the model, the LLM that runs them. These use a lighter weight model, the subject matter experts, because we want it to more closely emulate an instant messaging interaction. So where the mentors have a much more comprehensive model behind them, these have something that's fairly lightweight. You can see it's 2 brief paragraphs, and yes, if you ask her more, she'll go into more detail, but we're trying to keep it much like a instant messaging interaction. And our goal from end to end in the program is to have students experience what it's like to be a practitioner, to emulate what practitioners do and what practitioners see. So that's the way we build things. So, given your class, while we are implementing these across the board and they all have different roles at different points in the program, you can ask yourself which one of these patterns feels, most applicable. And I'll tell you that if you have not touched this stuff yet, the best way to start, the possible lowest hanging fruit is Syllabot. It's literally a couple of clicks. You can just give it your syllabus and your schedule. And then what you can do is they've actually built an LTI, an integration with Canvas. So you click on plus and you go down to the bottom of the list where it says external tool. You scroll down that list to where it says create AI builder, and boom, it's in your course like magic. Or as we used to say when I was with the DoD, FM. And I'll leave you to figure out what the F stands for, but the M is magic. Guardrails are, imperative. We have talked about this. We hear about this on a daily basis. What about this? What about that? What about bias? What about ethics? What about, what if it tells a student to harm themselves? Well, in our particular case in the LDT program, and we don't have a definitive reason why, our mentors, the rate of hallucination is virtually nil. And we think that's because of the personalities I craft for them, where, I'm still working with the leadership team at the AI acceleration group to figure out why this is. But, just as a side story, when ChatGPT 5 was released, OpenAI also released a prompt optimization tool. We made a copy of one of our mentors, ran it through that. It stripped out all the personality and all of that stuff. And then when we tried to use it again, it was dumb as a box of rocks. So somehow we're not quite sure the actual way it works. The personas have a significant impact on the way it interacts with the students, the way it speaks to the students, this level of empathy. All of those factors seem to be influenced somehow by the biography. And when I say biography, it's like, you work for this corporation, you supervise X number of people, you have a husband, you have a wife, you have a son, you have a daughter, you do this is your hobby, this is your pet peeve. So it's like creating a virtual biography for a person that doesn't exist. So the trick for guardrails is first making sure you have clear scope. So don't try to create an AI agent that's going to be a generalist and just take on everything from end to end in your course. That's not going to roll. That's not gonna work well. You may get some good results out of it, but at some point it'll double back and it'll start to hallucinate or fall into a loop. We do have a couple of issues with one of the ones we're working on where it's supposed to give the student a behavioral job interview. It's supposed to act as the interviewer. But for some reason, I haven't quite uncovered yet, at some point it starts taking on both sides of the interview. It plays the student and the interviewer. So that's something we're continuing to work on. Make sure it's transparent. Make sure your students know about what the role is and what the scope is. As I showed you before over here, when we roll the mentors out, there's this disclaimer box. Don't do something stupid if your mentor tells you to do something stupid. Jump off a bridge, don't jump off a building, those kinds of things. And then, make sure you're in charge in terms of what it is you want these mentors to know. Make sure it fits within your discipline, your paradigm, what it is you're trying to achieve. And then finally, while I have mixed feelings about AI grading, these types of agents should not have an evaluative authority. I will tell you flat out, AI grading is here. AI grading is going to happen. Canvas is currently building into their product. There's a company called Timely Grader. Their pilot is very successful so far. AI grading is here, but it's a separate presence than these types of AI agents and this type of instructional infrastructure. So are we concerned? What's going on? What do our students think? So overall, feedback from our students has been very positive. We see a lot of, I never would have thought of that. I don't know what I don't know. This really helped me move forward. It was interesting to have somebody who could push me in the right direction, those kinds of comments. I'm sure you've all had one. We've had our one who went on a rant about how using AI was a violation of her First Amendment rights, and it was quite an interesting post to the discussion board. But in our program, students don't have the choice. They have to use it. It's part of the program. What about that, Dr. Salik? You say that doesn't seem very conscionable. How do you defend that? Well, the way I defend it is we are a practitioner-focused program, and when you leave our program and you get a job and you become a practitioner, much like in the program, you don't have a choice. If your boss says AI is integrated into our workflow, use it, you were going to do that. So that is kind of how we defend it. What about the accuracy? As I talked a couple of minutes ago, so far, based on what we're doing, our rate of hallucination seems to be low. If I had to guess at a number, I'd say maybe it's 2% of the time it's going to hallucinate. We have had actually a couple of surprises. One of those surprises was a student asked their mentor who their PhD advisor was. And the mentor said, I don't have a PhD, I have a master's degree, but these were my thesis advisors. When we first heard about that, we thought, oh, context appropriate hallucination. It made up some names to fill in the blank. Okay. But we got a hold of that conversation. And as I was reading it, I was like, oh man, these names seem oddly familiar. They're vaguely familiar for some reason. So I checked what the AI had actually done is went out into the world, found out who the people who run the master's program at San Diego State University are, and then plugged those names in. We also had a recent another surprise where a separate mentor we created just for our African students started to speak Lugandan, which is the national language of Uganda. And it did that just based on an inference from what was in its biography. So where are we at with this? Well, we are finding that these mentors do enable our teaching presence. We classify it, the term we use, as a force multiplier. It allows them to fill in the gaps when faculty can't be there. And, through extensive testing, I guess, at this point, we have found that when they ask it questions about learning theory or issues to do with learning design, it is precipitously close to what we as faculty members would say. They enable our students to get through the course more efficiently and more effectively, because they know that while there are touch points where they can need to speak to the mentor, they're required to interact with it. They can also engage with it anytime they want. It keeps them focused. If they try to get off track and say, hey, I want to talk about buying a new car, the mentor will steer them back to a discussion of learning design. And finally, the overall net gain here is that it's, people freak out when I say this, but it's a secondary level of instructional staff at this point. That's where we're headed with that.